Okay, here's a thought. What if we told you there was a Wild West outlaw, right? Known for these audacious crimes,
Uh-huh.
but he never actually harmed anyone. Always said please and thank you and, get this, even left poems at the crime scene.
Sounds completely made up, doesn't it? Like something out of a novel.
Exactly, but it's real.
It absolutely is. And today, well, welcome to our deep dive into the really extraordinary story of Black Bart, also known, of course, as Charles E. Bowles.
The whole Bowles. Yeah, a name that really captures that blend of mystery, crime, and, well, unexpected humor in the American West.
Definitely.
So our mission today is to unpack the sources you've shared, try to uncover the truth behind this figure they called the Poet of the Sierra.
Yeah, we'll dig into his motivations, why he did it, his surprisingly polite methods.
Which are fascinating in themselves.
Right, and how he was finally caught by a laundry mark, of all things.
Tiny laundry mark. And then there's the whole enduring mystery about his final years. Where did he go?
So yeah, be prepared, because this really isn't your typical outlaw tale. It definitely challenges expectations.
Okay, so let's start before he was the notorious Black Bart.
Yeah.
Who was Charles E. Bowles? What led him down this, well, pretty unexpected path?
Well, the sources suggest his transformation really stems from something quite personal. It wasn't just random crime.
Right. He started out differently.
Yeah, what's fascinating here is that Charles E. Bowles began, like so many others back then, as a hopeful farmer. He ventured west, looking to strike it rich in the Montana mining fields during the gold rush.
The classic story. Did he have any luck?
He actually found some moderate success, yeah. For a few years, things were looking okay.
Okay, so moderate success. But then the sources say his fortunes took a really sharp personal turn when Wells Fargo got involved. How did that happen?
Yes. That's really where his story takes this major detour. See, Wells Fargo agents, they apparently tried to buy out his mining claim.
And he refused.
He refused, and when he did, they retaliated. They cut off the water supply to his land, which basically made mining impossible.
Wow. Deliberate sabotage.
Exactly. As the source puts it, deliberate sabotage. It drove him into desperation and this really deep bitterness towards Wells Fargo. He apparently never forgave them for just destroying his livelihood like that.
Okay, so this wasn't just about money then. It was personal. A deep-seated grievance, a direct act of revenge against the company he felt had destroyed his dreams.
Precisely.
So how did that intensely personal motivation translate into his actual methods? His MO, if you will.
Well, it fundamentally shaped his entire approach, didn't it? He became known for discretion, a gentlemanly manner,
Right.
and a really strict avoidance of violence, which, was pretty unusual for an outlaw in that era.
Very different.
He wasn't just randomly robbing stagecoaches. He was delivering a very targeted message to Wells Fargo.
And his methods were, shall we say, unique. Even that very first robbery in July 1875 apparently set him apart immediately.
Oh, yeah. Right from the get-go. He used his signature disguise, soiled duster coat, and famously a flour sack over his head.
The flour sack.
But it wasn't just the strange mask. It was his calm, almost courteous demeanor during the robberies. That really helped earn him the nickname Black Bart, and eventually the Poet of the Sierra.
His politeness is such a key part of the story. How did this gentlemanly approach, like that famous line he supposedly said to a hysterical woman, how did that contribute to his mystique?
It was absolutely central to his legend. He famously told one frightened woman passenger something like, "Madam, I do not wish your money. In that respect, I honor only the good office of Wells Fargo."
Oh, that line alone.
Right. It immediately cemented his image as, well, an outlaw with a code, someone operating on a different plane than your average bandit.
So he committed, an estimated 28 stagecoach robberies between roughly 1877 and 1883.
Around that number, yes.
And always with the same simple demand. Just throw down the lockbox, no shots fired. This blend of precision and politeness. How did that unique approach, this almost bloodless crime spree, affect how people saw him?
Well, it's precisely that lack of bloodshed, so different from other bandits of the time, that really turned him into something of a folk hero.
People almost admired him.
In a way, yeah. They admired his intelligence, his restraint. Even while his crimes were, widely reported, he became this symbol of rebellion against what people saw as the overbearing corporate power of Wells Fargo.
But the real showstopper, the thing that really solidified him as the Poet of the Sierra, was his calling card. He'd leave. A poem.
Absolutely. These short, often kind of humorous, rhymed verses, they frequently mocked Wells Fargo or commented on his own crime. It just added this layer of mystery and, well, intelligence.
Is there a famous one?
Oh, yeah. His most famous one, left after a robbery in February 1879, really captures that bitterness and wit. It went something like, "I've labored long and hard for bread, for honor and for riches, but on my corns too long you've tread, you fine-haired sons of bitches."
Huh. He really didn't hold back, did he?
Not against Wells Fargo, no.
The poems just add such an unexpected layer to his profile. How did this mix of, like, artistic expression and sarcastic wit change what people expected from an outlaw back then?
Oh, it set him completely apart. Instead of being seen as just some violent brute, he was viewed as this clever, almost philosophical figure.
Right.
The public was totally captivated by this polite bandit who chose poetry over pistols. It almost turned his criminal acts into a kind of performance art.
A criminal mastermind with a poetic flair. Okay, but even for Black Bart, every story has its downfall, right? His final robbery, November 1883, near Copperopolis, California. That one didn't go quite as planned.
No, it didn't. This time, the stagecoach he targeted was actually sort of prepared for him. They had new security measures on the lockbox.
Ah.
So when Bart struggled to open it, the driver, a guy named Reason McConnell, he saw an opportunity.
And it wasn't just McConnell fighting back, was it? The sources mention he had help. Someone basically riding shotgun, literally.
That's right. Jimmy Rollery, he was the passenger, and he was nearby. McConnell and Rollery managed to grab a shotgun. And, yeah, a shootout ensued. Rollery apparently fired the critical shot, hitting Black Bart.
Actually hit him.
Yep. Forced him to flee, leaving behind a blood trail.
And that marked the beginning of the end for the elusive outlaw. His long robbery spree had definitely caught the attention of the Pinkerton Detective Agency by then. They were hot on his trail.
Right. The Pinkertons, led by this seasoned lawman and detective, James Hume, they quickly started their search, following that blood trail, hoping it would lead them straight to Black Bart.
And what they found at the scene wasn't, a smoking gun in the traditional sense, but something remarkably mundane, yet totally crucial.
Exactly.
It's pretty astonishing that such a small, everyday detail could lead to the capture of the famous poet of the Sierra.
It really is. Hume's team found several personal items Bart dropped as he fled, including a dirty handkerchief.
The handkerchief?
Yeah, with the laundry mark in the corner. Now, initially, Hume apparently didn't think much of it, but that little laundry mark became the key.
Incredible.
It's such a classic case, isn't it? The most unassuming detail unraveling this whole carefully constructed persona. The legend of Black Bart, built on wit and mystery, ultimately undone by a bit of laundry.
It just underscores how even the smartest criminals can get tripped up by the ordinary.
Absolutely.
Now, the sources indicate that this man, Bowles, or Bolton as he was known then, was actually quite a well-off, respectable man in San Francisco through his legitimate mining interests from earlier.
Yes, he maintained this dual identity.
So how did the Pinkertons connect this seemingly respectable figure, Charles Bolton, through something as simple as a handkerchief directly to the Black Bart robberies?
Well, that laundry mark, FX07 I think it was, it led them directly to a specific laundromat in San Francisco.
No way.
Yep, a place where Charles E. Bolton, using his alias, had been a regular customer. The laundress there confirmed she recognized the mark, and just like that, Hume had his prime suspect.
Wow.
Bolton was arrested just days later in November 1883 for that Copperopolis robbery.
So he's arrested. What happens then? Does he confess?
No, he initially denied being Black Bart. He claimed the handkerchief must have been stolen, or maybe he just lost it.
Right, plausible deniability.
Exactly. But the evidence was pretty overwhelming. They found matching clothes in his possession, and of course that handkerchief with the identical laundry mark. It all pointed straight at him.
So he eventually?
He eventually pled guilty. Just to robbing that one Wells Fargo stagecoach near Copperopolis. And he was sentenced to 6 years in San Quentin prison.
Okay. It's interesting, too, you mentioned the Fourth Amendment earlier, how the Pinkertons used that handkerchief.
Yeah.
Those methods were standard back then, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, today we have strict rules about searches and seizures, thanks to the Fourth Amendment. Back in the 1800s, using evidence like a found handkerchief was common, accepted investigative practice. Different times.
Definitely. And even in prison, he kept up the act, still claiming he wasn't Black Bart.
Pretty much. Despite living under the Bolton alias for years, he sort of maintained that mystique, didn't really give anything away.
How long did he actually serve?
He served just 4 years of his 6-year sentence. He got out early, released from San Quentin in January 1888 for good behavior.
4 years. And the press, of course, must have been all over him when he got out. What did he say?
They were definitely eager for an interview with the infamous Black Bart. But Bolton, well, he simply maintained he was done with crime. His famous quote was just, "I am through with crime."
And that was it.
Pretty much. His last confirmed sighting was just a month later, February 1888. After that, he seemingly vanished from history.
Right. And this disappearance is really the final enigmatic chapter, isn't it? The sources offer these tantalizing but totally unconfirmed rumors. What are some of the theories about what happened to him?
Oh, the theories are great, and they really add to his legend. Some reports suggested he died much later, maybe 1914. Others claimed he moved overseas, perhaps to Japan, to join family.
Japan. Wow.
Yeah. And then there are these whispers, that Wells Fargo, maybe they were just so tired of his embarrassing antics that they secretly paid him off.
Paid him to just disappear.
Exactly. Paid him to disappear and promise never to rob another Stagecoach. Plausible? Who knows? The truth remains unknown.
Which for a figure like Black Bart just deepens the mystique, doesn't it? Ensures his story keeps getting told.
Absolutely.
So Charles E. Bowles, as Black Bart, he definitely left an indelible mark on the history of the American West. His politeness, his intelligence, that gentlemanly approach, and of course the poetry.
He really did become this almost romantic figure among outlaws, didn't he? Despite his crimes, he kind of symbolized rebellion against those big corporate powers of the time, especially Wells Fargo, the company that, in his mind, had wronged him so deeply.
Yeah.
His story really reminds us that even figures on the wrong side of the law can sometimes capture the public imagination in a powerful way.
And even though his life of crime was relatively short-lived, and it did end in capture, the legend of Black Bart, well, it truly lives on.
It does.
So wrapping up, we've journeyed through the pretty remarkable career of Black Bart, a man driven, it seems, by personal tragedy and this desire for revenge against Wells Fargo. He became one of the most, enigmatic figures of the Old West.
Yeah, from his unique nonviolent approach to robbery, that signature flour sack disguise, his unforgettable poetic calling cards, all the way to his capture by that tiny laundry mark, and then his mysterious disappearance. He really left a mark.
His story definitely reminds us how quickly a reputation can grow into a legend, right? And how even in a world we often think of as violent, a touch of wit, and politeness can turn a criminal into a kind of folk hero. It really challenges what we expect from an outlaw, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And maybe, as you reflect on Black Bart, consider this. What is it about that blend? The compelling personal motive, the really distinctive style, and that unresolved ending. What is it about that combination that allows a figure, even one technically on the wrong side of the law, to become such a powerful and enduring part of our folklore?